How's it, everyone? Wayne the Unknown here, and welcome back to another episode of Geeking Out, where we basically discuss everything nerd and geek related. I am once again doing another episode of Get to Know That Actor, and I'm joined here by Mortal Kombat actor and yoga instructor, is it?
Yes, I teach yoga and all different types of fitness modalities. We can talk about that during the
Oh,
interview.
yeah, no, definitely will. Um, Lia Montelongo, who you may know as Sindel from Mortal Kombat 2.
Sindel wins. Flawless victory.
Sareena from Mortal Kombat Mythologies Sub Zero.
Why did you help me?
You are still immortal. That means you can escape the nether realm.
There won't be anywhere to go if I don't get the amulet back.
Take me with you. I've waited an eternity to escape.
And the character model for Tanya in Mortal Kombat 4. And you seem to have been pretty busy when you got started into that. To begin, what made you want to get into acting and all that stuff, such as Mortal Kombat back in the day?
Well, that's a great question. First, I'll just say hi to everybody. Thanks for tuning in and stopping by uh, to check out what we have to say here on this interview. I'm excited about it. I was not looking to be a video game actress. It's just kind of I say this often. It's like right place at the right time, knowing the right people. And that's kind of what happened. I was definitely involved in working out at the time. I was 19 when I was cast as Sindel. I was going out on auditions. I was working as an extra in feature films. I had just done some background work with Wesley Snipes and Bruce Willis. And in the background, I was just an extra, but you can see me for about 10 seconds in the film. I'll have to when we finish our interview, I'll have to send you the IMDb for that so
Oh
you
yeah,
can
please do.
with the viewers. But so things were happening for me. Um, I just didn't know it was going to be in the video game arena. So long story short, I was a personal trainer at a gym called World Gym downtown Chicago, and John Parrish, who plays Jax, he was my work colleague. So we were friends at work.
Nice.
And John Tobias asked John Parrish, hey, do you know any bodybuilder couples? And I was engaged to Brian Glenn, who plays Shao Kahn. So that's kind of what happened. They called me in to interview, an audition, I should say, for Sindel. And apparently I had the right look and the right body type that they were looking for. So I auditioned and was cast as Sindel. And then once you're kind of in that arena, it just was, I think, maybe a no-brainer for them when they were looking for somebody to cast as Sareena. They were like, hey, let's call Lia in and see if she can do this. And so I was so fortunate to then work on the project as Sareena, which I loved. And then, yes, I did model for Tanya. But just to be clear, Tanya was actually inspired by the artist's wife. And when E3 was coming around the convention,
Hmm.
she really didn't want to participate in that. And so then they were like, hey, Leah kind of looks like Tanya. Let's ask her if she'd be willing to go. And of course, Brian, my fiance at the time, Carrie, John Turk, like all of my fun castmates were going to be there. So I was like, yeah, I'll put on a leotard and dress up like Tanya. And that was a lot of fun too. So that's kind of the long and short of it.
So what was it like being, 19 just and then being asked to, hey, we want you to be in this potentially popular video game franchise?
Yeah, again, I was not a gamer. I played Miss Pac-Man
And there's
at the
nothing
Boy
wrong with
Scout.
that.
Yeah, like I didn't really know much about gaming. So I thought it was just like a cool thing. I was like, wow, this is really cool. And Meeting John Tobias and Ed Boon, they were super passionate. This was Mortal Kombat 3, so they had already filmed the two first versions, so they really had a good foundation to kind of tell us what was happening. So I kind of just looked at it as like a job, like it was just a day on the set, I was just going to work, and it was going to be a cool experience. I did not know, obviously, all these years later, the kind of hype and how, Mortal Kombat 3 really, I know Mortal Kombat 1 changed gaming history forever,
Oh,
but
yeah, it did.
I feel like 3 has really kind of been the most profound because it is the last of the real actors.
Oh, that's right, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, so
And I'm sure having the experience you have as a personal trainer kind of helped with that as well.
yes, all of my physical fitness definitely helped me be able to condition for the role. I do have martial arts in my background. I'm more of a taekwondo um, practitioner, so that's why I think, like, from what I've heard, Sindel tends to be one of the winning characters to choose from. And I'm hoping it's because those roundhouses are really great.
And I'm sure you've been asked this before. So you, from what I've seen, like in clips and everything on YouTube, you did the makeup for Sindel?
I did, yes. And it was legit costume makeup, like Halloween makeup, one of those big black crayons, and just kind of like it was an idea, and it was a little bit of like, should I just make this kind of shape around my eye? It was really organic and on the spot. And thankfully it turned out like they wanted it to.
And you also did your own makeup too for Sareena in Mythologies, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I did.
Nice.
Yeah.
Uh, Between the two makeups for both Sareena and Sindel, which one would you say was the hardest to do?
Definitely Sindel. Yeah, it was because it was new. It was the
Hmm.
first, right? So of course, yeah, it was very, very new, very awkward. I'm so uncertain if I'm doing the right thing or not. So it was definitely more difficult. Um, on the costume was more difficult than Serena's costume.
Oh, I'll bet. And I can't imagine what it's like wearing that long wig as well.
Yeah, that's also another, you know, thing that I think the fans don't really realize is this is before wigs, really, like wigs
Hmm.
were at the level that they are now. You can go in and you can put on this lovely light hair, you just braid it in. This was a football helmet that I had to place on top of my head. It was legitimately
Okay, I see it now. That's why it gives it that extra like poof at the top.
the extra oomph, and there's honeycomb holes that they're putting the hair through. So that was also a bit of an adjustment when I had to, I'm getting ready to do a high kick, a roundhouse, or, Ed wants me to do a front flip. And it's like, that's, that's not going to happen
I
because the
mean,
helmet was not attached to my head. It was just on my head.
oh jeez. I mean,
Yeah.
especially with the length of that too. I just can't imagine. So going back to a previous question, what made you want to do the whole fitness training thing and everything before Mortal Kombat and then continue it right after you were done with Mortal Kombat?
Yeah, ever since I was young, I've always been really inclined to dance was really my first love and passion, just since I can remember, you know, um, running around as like a little ballerina in a tutu and just always putting on dance shows and teaching people how to dance. I just really loved it. And I met Brian when I was 17. I was sneaking into a bar because they were having a dance
Like
contest.
you do.
Yes, right. You sneak into bars when you're 17. I hope my son doesn't see this. Um, but I was not going there to drink. I was going there to compete in this dance contest. And that's when I met Brian. And Brian was a professional bodybuilder at the time. And we started dating like the next day. He called me, and I just fell in love with working out. I was going through a really tough time at home. I fought a lot with my mom. I was raised by a single mom. She was struggling with her own issues. And so going to the gym after school, was just it got me to a really positive place. And there was something that I really enjoyed about working out to this day is, you do this work and you actually see the results. You feel better about yourself, but then you see the results. And so for me, it was just not to be no pun intended, but it was a game changer.
Mhm.
And then, I have a long uh history of competing in fitness competitions because I did love that too. Yeah, I competed for about a decade.
What was that like? Because I have a friend who is a cosplayer and also has done the bodybuilding competitions, like where they had to wear all that bronze oil and everything.
Oil, yep.
God,
Yep.
what was that like? Because not only do I like to talk about what's like being an actor, but the thing about this segment is get to know them as a person as well.
I love that. Yeah.
So yeah, what was it like being a bodybuilder for a decade and competing in those? Because I can't imagine those or something like that is not easy.
It's not easy. It's kind of interesting to think about it now with where I am in my life, and I'll share something fun with you that's happening right now in just a minute. It's interesting because people probably don't know this, but I am really an introvert. Like I am really, when I come home, I like it really quiet. I really kind of like to be by myself. And training for a competition, it's a pretty individual sport unless you're working with your trainer, or there were times I'd meet with a choreographer or, someone to help me learn how to walk on stage or hold my muscles or pose. Um, so, I think it's just like the experience for me is about having a goal and setting a goal. And then really the thing that I love so much about teaching, because I still teach fitness and I've taught my whole life as a personal
Nice.
trainer, as a group fitness instructor, as a yoga teacher, is really the connection with people, um, from an even playing field. So it's like I would do these things so that I could like inspire people, but I would want those people to be on the same, like they are the same as me. I'm not better than them. I'm the same as them. So like I never saw it as like a big thing. I don't know. I just felt like it was something that I was supposed to do. Like this is the next thing, and I'm gonna get ready for this show because then now that's gonna help me, get work as a fitness model, and that's gonna help me meet more people in the industry, and that's gonna help me, raise more awareness about the importance of health and fitness. And so I've built a career path through being in the fitness arena. And one way to do that was to compete, to get the notoriety and to build my resume. So yeah, I hope that answered your
Oh, no, it did, and it seems to have worked out for you so well too.
it really has. And so this is the fun thing I'll share with you. So I've just qualified for the Mrs. Petite USA. So I'm getting ready to compete on a pageant level,
Oh
and
wow.
I've been crowned as Mrs. Illinois Petite, which it's the same organization as Mrs. America, similar organization. It's just
Right.
for women that are under 5'6". Um, and I'm a Mrs. now, which is something I haven't ever been. So I get to celebrate being a Mrs., being in shape, having a much larger platform to talk about the importance of health and fitness, and to experience something new and to give myself another goal at a different time in my life it helps me kind of stay in life, if that makes
No,
sense.
no, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
A question I've always asked, and I've always tried to ask actresses, is this something you ever expected to see yourself be doing, like being in video games and doing all this? And what do you think your younger self would think of all this?
Oh, I did not see myself doing all of this. I, that's interesting. That's a great question because I'm in a, I just got married last year. I have a,
Congratulations, by the way.
thank you. Thank you. I have a new family home. And so you start to go through all your boxes of pictures and stuff. And I just found this photo of myself as a little girl, and I'm standing in this forest preserve, and there's just a bunch of trees around me, and I'm just this tiny little nugget all by myself. I don't know who took the picture. I don't remember taking the picture, but when I saw it, I thought like, wow, what a journey it's been. And what I would say to that little girl is, you know, you're going to do a really great job with all of the things that you have. Um, Growing up in a single family home, I didn't really have the luxuries that uh, are offered. I was brought up on the south side of Chicago. Things were quite a bit more difficult for me. I had to work harder, and I still to this day have to work harder for a lot of reasons. Um, but I'm glad that I'm glad that I kind of fixated on one goal at a time, as opposed to when I'm 40, I want this, and when I'm 50, I want this. It's kind of been like, I really want to go to school. How am I going to go to school? I can't afford to go to school. Well, I could be a fitness instructor at that school. And that's what
Yeah.
I did. And then I
Yeah.
was able to take classes while so it was kind of like, um, I've really learned how to live life, uh and I would just tell that little girl that she's just going to be just fine.
As many people who are in this line of work, you've definitely, and I always admire people who do this. You've worked your ass off to get to where you are today, basically. Literally worked your ass off to get to where you are.
Literally, thank you for that acknowledgement. Thank you. Yes, I have 100%. I have time and time and time again. And even still right now, I'm in the heap of these new things that are unfolding before me. And I'm working hard on them, you know.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now someone who is a mother, like I'd imagine your kids know you've done all this. What do your kids think of you being in such an iconic video game series and just doing all this stuff that you've been doing for a long time?
Well, I love this question. My son, I have one child, my son, he is 14. He just turned 14 on the 14th. So he just celebrated his golden birthday,
Nice.
and he's a gamer. But I'm his mom. So it was like not a cool thing or not a big deal for quite some time. Um, but then when Mortal Kombat 11 came out and he saw the skin, that's when he could see the resemblance of Sindel's face and my face. And then we go to this bowling alley, and they had a full standing arcade of MK3. And so
Nice.
it started to kind of land, and now he definitely the other day he was like, Mom, I'm not trying to be rude, but I know you're middle aged, and I know you have to work out really hard to look that way. So I just wanted to tell you, like, I'm proud of you. And
Oh.
like, I was like, thanks, buddy. I'll take that as a compliment.
Let's see. So another question, and I do gotta say, the guy who what was his name again? Brian. He played as Shao Kahn.
Yes,
I never, I'm sure you never would imagine that in the later games that it's kind of like funny and ironic when you think about it, how they're technically lovers in the later series of Mortal Kombat.
right?
And that was
Yeah,
like, and I think that was like, yeah, because what I think Mortal Kombat 3 came out in 95, I think the same time as the first movie. So that was before I think it was ever announced that Shao Kahn and Sindel are like married.
right. Yeah, that was pretty wild that we were engaged during the filming of that, and doing the shoot, and then being chosen to be on the side cabinet was really cool too. And Brian and I are friends to this day. We never did get married, but he got married and lived a whole life, and I'm in my life, but we do see each other from time to time when we have events that we get together. And he's still stayed, a dear and near friend in my life. And honestly, meeting him, I always tell him he was my earth angel, meeting him
Aw.
at the time that I did, because he really kind of, he was like my guardian angel. He kind of protected me and taught me all the ways of the fitness world that set me up to be able to have a career. Otherwise, I really have no idea how I would have aspired to, move forward in fitness and entertainment and all of those things that I wanted to do.
Nice. So speaking of events, what was it like, being a guest at conventions for, again, such an iconic series, working with John and Ed and every other person you've worked with on the Midway team when you went to your first con as a guest?
That was pretty wild. Again, not being a gamer, really understanding how much the gaming world embraced us or would embrace us. Even to this day, I just did a local fan signing. They did a retro game uh, convention, and it was at the local Orland Park Civic Center. And I had, you know, maybe almost 100 people come out, for a 5 or 6 hour day, and coming from all different parts of Illinois or the surrounding areas. And it's really amazing, to be honest with you. That's what I think keeps me involved with the organization from an outside way. Like I just did the post on my Instagram, a 4-pack of my characters for, fans that want the autograph or that interaction. It still blows me away that people want my autograph. I'm kind of like, sure, I'll sign this for you. But I get it. I get it, and I appreciate having those moments with the fans. It's very humbling. It's very humbling. And it means a lot to me, especially when fans tell me how playing the game, or like some, brothers and sisters I meet, like the brother and sister, and they're like, I chose Sindel and I'd fight my brother and he'd be Sub Zero, or, it's fun when you hear those stories.
Nice. So, kind of back to the Mortal Kombat. So, eventually, right after Mortal Kombat 3, they brought you back for the story. I don't know how to explain the game itself, but like you got like a lot of a lot of screen time when they brought you back for Mythology Sub Zero. What was it like playing as Sareena? Because that's like I think that was her first introduction to the series as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it was probably my favorite job I've ever had my whole career. And I've had hundreds of jobs. The reason why it was so fun and memorable, I don't know if you've seen the outtakes, but that's like,
I've seen the outtakes on YouTube, and I think I no, they're hilarious.
I forgot my line.
You suck. A mortal. I mean, a keeper. Sir, a mortal has escaped from the... Sir, a mortal has escaped from the prison of souls. He is headed towards the gates of immortality. Sir.
yeah. So it was like a whole day of that. Just like, so we just had so much fun. We just had such a great time. And something like that it's called actors chemistry. You just have such a great time. And I think because I had that chemistry with Rich and I had that chemistry with John, I was allowed to have more screen time, because it worked. It worked really well together.
Plus, I think, if I'm not mistaken, you got to work with Brian because he was Quan Chi, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. No, no. Rich was Quan Chi.
Rich. Okay,
Yeah.
Rich.
Rich was Quan Chi yeah, on the set.
Okay, nice. So another question I always ask, it's more like advice to give. So, what kind of advice would you want to give someone who may want to get into this line of work, whether it's the acting, the bodybuilding, the fitness, stuff like that?
This is a great question. I would highly suggest having a mentor who has had experience with how to manage yourself as a brand. Because the era that I was coming up in, I was completely taken advantage of with signing my rights over for photo shoots and images. And unfortunately, it's sad but true. People are out there to take advantage of young talent. And you never know when your talent is going to help, an organization, a company, a clothing line. And if you sign your rights over, you're not receiving the gratuity, the monetary, the money that you're deserving of. And that would be one thing that I would highly recommend. I'm actually working with a young voice actor now who's just getting into the gaming industry, and he reached out to me and was asking, what would I recommend? And I would recommend, I told him, I said, if you can find a talent manager, someone that will protect you, that's what you need to do. And now, if I'm doing anything moving forward, I always have a lawyer look over anything that I'm going to sign, even if it's, just for a day photo shoot, for a fitness shoot, anything. Because you just, sad but true, people will take advantage of you.
I I can't argue on that. And I feel like yeah, you definitely have to have like definitely protect yourself and your name and everything because people can use and abuse that too if you're not careful, like you said. Have you
Yeah.
ever had to deal with anything like that when you were starting out?
I did. I did deal with a lot of that, sadly. As a fitness model, I photographed with a really incredible photographer. He was one of the best known in the industry, and everyone was like, "Oh, if he wants to shoot you, you're definitely going to get a centerfold in a magazine." And that was one of my goals. I wanted to be a centerfold model in Muscle Mag. And
I've heard of Muscle Mag.
yeah, it was a big magazine, and sure enough, I was a centerfold. And the only way that I found out was a friend of mine was at the grocery store, and he picked up the magazine when he was waiting in line to check out, and he flipped open and he was like, "Leah, did you know you're a centerfold in Muscle Mag?" And I was like, "Oh my God, that's incredible." And all I wanted were I wanted my photos. This photographer promised, I'm going to give you photos. And if we sell it to the magazines, because they would sell it, he probably sold that photo for $500, you know, and I didn't see a cent from that. Um, yeah, so I've dealt with that a lot, too much to want to think about. But
That's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah, it really is. It really is.
I feel like if you're putting in the time and effort to have all these photos taken, you should get some type of compensation, whether it's the photos, the money, whatever, not just like, oh, I'm gonna do this and then just not,
Just
and
fall off the whole.
the fact that you had to find out through a friend of yours at a grocery store looking at a centerfold, that's kind of it's messed up. I'm sorry that
It's
happened.
mind blowing. It really is. It really is mind blowing. Um I'm not the only, I'm one of thousands when it comes to the fitness industry. Again, very sad but true. Back, in the early 2000s when I was coming up and doing these photo shoots with Oxygen magazine. I'm a fitness model in Oxygen magazine, and I'm doing a whole editorial, and I'm doing the before and after photos. And I did get some name recognition, but I was just looking through a photo or through a magazine 2 days ago, Natural Muscle, and I was featured in there. And I didn't even like you don't even you're not even being told that they're going to feature you. You open up the magazine, you're like, "Oh, there's a picture of me from that competition." And then they write this little article on me, and they happen to write that I was a gamer girl, is what they titled the article, and talking about my experience as a Sindel and Sareena, and that I happen to be a fitness competitor also.
It's weird how like you like have to find out through other sources, not from the direct source itself.
Well, I did see one not too long ago on Wikipedia saying that that it's estimated that I have like $4 or $5 million. And I was like, "Oh, this I'm okay to find out about this, but where is that check?
Where's that?
Where
Where's
is
that money?
where is that money?" Huh.
It just
It's on the way. It's coming.
it's as I always say, it's never fun finding out last minute stuff, especially when it pertains to you.
Yeah, you're like, oh, there.
I didn't know I had this much money. Where's all that money at, huh? So two more questions before we end this.
Yeah.
So, um, what's just been your all-time favorite thing about just doing what you do?
Mm. Being an introvert and wanting to stay home and lay on the couch and watch TV and be all by myself, the connection that I get from doing what I do. That's what I really love. I love connecting with people outside of myself. And that's why I do what I do.
Nice. And then the impact altogether, just what's the impact been like for this?
Mm, fulfilling. Yeah, no
It, it
regret.
it seems like it's had a positive impact though.
100%.
I
Yeah.
mean, you're married, you have a son, and you get to enjoy what you do without being told by who and when and where, basically. You're your own boss, basically.
Yes, I learned from those early knockdowns how to get back up and just be a boss lady.
Nice. And then finally, just as I always ask in these type of interviews, just any last minute advice or anything you just like to throw out there for those who are listening and are watching this.
Yeah. Thanks for if you're still here. Thanks for watching and listening in. And I would say that no matter what it is that you might be going through, if you're struggling or succeeding, just to take it day by day. And sometimes you got to take it moment by moment, but always trust that you'll get through it no matter what.
That's some really good sound advice. Honestly, no, seriously, that's, and I hope those who are listening or watching they take that, into consideration because, I always like hearing, like I said, when it comes to these interviews, I always like hearing the advice they have, and I feel like that's what it's all about. You get to not only know what they've been in, but just who they are as a person. And at the end of the day, actors, and people who do this stuff are just like everybody else, you know. So again, I thank you. Also, finally, where can people find you on social media if they want to stay up to date with like, any conventions or just in general stuff about that?
Yeah, my largest platform that I tend to be really active on is my Instagram, and you can just follow me. It's Lia Montelongo, super easy.
Nice. Well, again, Leah, thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing not only what it's been like being an actor, but also what it's just like, being you and doing the stuff you get to do. So again, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Of course. And as always, I'm Wayne the Unknown. Until next time, thank you for listening. And as always, thank you for watching.